In the world of national security, intelligence agencies are always looking for an edge, right? No matter how strange it might seem. But what if that edge wasn't a piece of tech, but the human mind itself? Today, we are diving deep into a story that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's all pieced together from years of real investigative reporting and actual declassified files. This is the story of the NSA's secret psychic spies. So let's just get right to it. Did the NSA, America's most secretive intelligence agency, actually use psychic spies after the 9/11 attacks? I know, it's a wild question, but it's the exact question that a few dedicated journalists started asking when a pretty shocking tip surfaced from deep within the shadows of the intelligence community. And this is where it all began. It started with this one single explosive tip. Back in 2007, a journalist named Gus Russo gets this message from an independent source. It talks about Stargate. That was the CIA's pretty legendary psychic research program that was supposedly shut down for good in the 90s. But according to Russo's source, it never really ended. It just moved. It was relocated and buried deep inside the NSA, becoming one of its most highly classified secrets. Now, that tip from Gus Russo's source, it lit a fire, and it sparked this multi-year investigation by another journalist, Gary Beckham, who just started to connect the dots. He was determined to follow this psychic trail no matter where it led, to find out if this NSA program was for real. So, think about it. How in the world do you prove something that's one of the most highly classified programs at the NSA? Well, for Beckham, it was a slow burn, piece by painstaking piece. So after Brusso's bombshell in 2007, a few years later in 2010, a declassified CIA document comes out with a little footnote that, get this, confirms the NSA does study parapsychology. Then, in 2011, a psychic in the UK reveals his American intelligence contact has been charged with espionage. A month later, that contact is identified as a senior NSA official named Thomas Drake. All these little breadcrumbs were leading somewhere big, and it was all building to an absolutely stunning confirmation in 2012. The whole investigation, everything Gary Beckham was digging into, really hinged on one guy. A man who was basically living a double life. In public, he was one of the NSA's most famous whistleblowers. But in secret, he was the key to this entire psychic spy mystery. And that man was Thomas Drake. Now, to the public, he was this high-level NSA executive who blew the whistle on government waste and fraud, and he was charged under the Espionage Act for it. That's the story most people knew. But what Gary Beckham's investigation uncovered was the secret story. For 7 years, this same top NSA official had a working relationship with a British psychic, Christopher Robinson. This was it. This was the direct link everyone was looking for between the NSA and the world of psychic intelligence. And the level of secrecy here is it's astounding. According to the psychic himself, Christopher Robinson, he worked with Drake for 7 years and never knew who he was really working for. Drake never said, "Hey, I'm with the NSA." It just shows you how deeply compartmentalized, how secret this whole operation really was. Now, as bizarre as all this sounds, the idea of the US government using psychics, well, it wasn't exactly new. We actually have declassified documents that prove they've been looking into this stuff for decades. Just look at this. This is not a prop from a movie. It's a real declassified cover page for a program called Sunstreak, a psychic intelligence program run by the US government. They had all these cool code names like Grill Flame and Center Lane. So the point is, there was a clear precedent for this kind of work inside the government. The main technique they were all so interested in was called remote viewing. In the official definition, which we're pulling straight from a declassified Defense Intelligence Agency document, is fascinating. It's described as gathering information through perceptions which cannot be explained by known sensory means. In other words, seeing things with your mind. So you gotta ask, why were they so interested? Why pour resources into this? Well, according to their own files, remote viewing had some huge strategic upsides. For one, it's passive, you can't detect it. It's inexpensive. I mean, all you really need is a person and a room. And maybe most important of all, there was no known defense against it. You can't build a firewall to block a psychic spy. Okay, so with all that history in mind, let's get back to Thomas Drake. After years of Gary Beckham's reporting, connecting all these dots, the story finally reaches its climax. The man at the very center of it all decides to go on the record. And then, this happened. In a live radio interview, Thomas Drake confirmed the most shocking part of the whole story. He stated, right there on the record, that his psychic contact, Christopher Robinson, had warned U.S. authorities about a plot to crash planes into the Twin Towers before 9/11 ever happened. For journalist Gary Beckham, this was it. This was the public validation of a 5-year investigation. Drake's confirmation was just staggering, but it also ripped open a whole new set of really unsettling questions, especially about privacy and surveillance in our modern world. I mean, what does it mean for an agency like the NSA to even have a capability like this?
Gary Beckham, the journalist who chased this story for years, summed up the implications with this absolutely chilling phrase: warrantless mind taps. Think about that. At a time when the whole country was debating warrantless wiretaps, this idea took the surveillance debate to a whole new and frankly terrifying level.
So the story that began with a secret tip from an anonymous source, it ends with a really profound question for every single one of us. If an intelligence agency could access thoughts to stop a tragedy, should they? It's a direct collision between our desire for security and our right to liberty. And it leaves us all wondering, in this quest for total security, where do we draw the line?